Well, welcome to Global Talk. And here at Global Talk, we have a desire to see a passion in the hearts of believers to share and to show God's love to the nations. And today we're excited to have Matt Riggins with us today. My name is Jonathan Grooms. I'm the president and executive director of Global Partners. And Matt Riggins, he has been on staff with Global Partners for the last 12 years. And I thought maybe we'd start today by just sharing a little bit about your journey of how you came to be a part of this team.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for the invitation to Global Talk and to be a part of this. I pray that today's conversation will be an encouragement to those who are able to listen and to hear, because I don't consider myself anything special. I'm thankful for the journey that God has had me on and allowed me to be on that led me to Global Partners. Probably the biggest part of that is that I'm your cousin. That's right. And we were blessed to grow up in a similar environment. Both of our dads are pastors, and our grandfather really laid the foundation for the path that we were on. And John, you've always been a mentor to me, especially in my early years of trying to figure out my identity, especially in Christ, but also my identity of myself and what my passions were and what made me excited about life. And you were a big part of that, especially in those early years, pre-Global Partners. I remember going on my first mission trip, maybe not my first, but a missions trip with you to India. I believe it was in 2005. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, I had just really started to recommit my life back to Christ. And that trip changed who I was. I remember coming home and really having a hard time going back to work, which I loved my job. It was a great job. I had an office with a computer and a desk and a cubicle and worked with great people. But it began to be difficult to have a passion to work in that quote unquote secular environment. And I was also doing youth ministry at the time. So we began to try to align the two together. But really that took years, because it was probably 7 or 8 years after that point until we officially became a part of Global Partners. But there were many other mission trips from 2005 to 2013, which is when the Lord officially opened the door for Global Partners, and Vicki and I spent a year kind of transitioning out of that life into this life, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I think part of it, I remember we went on a trip to Haiti, I think the summer before, and on that trip we shared some responsibilities, and you had a team from your church that had come, and I think through that, I think we had a conversation after that trip, and maybe I asked you, what would it look like for you to be a part of our team? And I think that helped maybe to get that journey
just
going.
To show how much Global Partners has grown since then. I believe you called me and said, Matt, me and the staff have been meeting and we were discussing you guys coming on board. And by staff, I mean me and Heidi.
Yeah, that's about right.
And so, there was a lot happening back then, but it's been great to be a part of this team since then.
That's great. Maybe tell us a little bit about your family, your wife, Vicki, and your kids.
Yeah, so Vicki and I, this year will be married 18 years. And this in a couple weeks, we'll celebrate 18 years, and God has blessed us with 5 wonderful children. Our daughter Naomi turns 16 here soon, or maybe you're already 16 by the time you're listening to this. But and then we have 4 boys, and the boys obviously keep us busy in different ways. But they're all excited about this. What we do. It's tough being quote unquote missionary kids living in the States, trying to do normal life, but also having a missions mindset. But any opportunity I get, they go on trips with us. Naomi will be in Guatemala this summer for the 2nd year in a row. Josiah went a couple years ago. And I know those opportunities are just going to get more and more as they get older. And Naomi's beginning to really have a heart for missions, and Sweet. We're excited to see that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's unique about Matt is the fact that you're one of the few people that are not local here. You actually living up in Pennsylvania, and which provides a lot of great opportunities for you and that part of Pennsylvania and the running water for living water, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But we're excited to have you here down in Roanoke this week.
Yeah, it's been great to spend a few days here at the Go Center and to really see what God's doing here. There's advantages and disadvantages to being away, to being off site. One is there's not many distractions. The daily just energy that's here every day is exciting to be a part of. And I'll see ourselves being more and more present here, hopefully, as we just continue to live there and serve there, but also make ourselves available down here as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about serving with Global Partners is you get to serve. I get the opportunity to serve with people I love and really enjoy being with. And so it's been a joy for me these last 12 years. Of course, we were friends, as you talked about before you came on this team, but to be able to serve with you each and every day. And one of the things we used to do is go on a lot of mission trips together through the years. The last number of years, it hasn't been quite as much. We've kind of had to separate with our families growing and schedules and so forth. But that's been one of my joys of being able to lots of trips to India together and serving in different places.
Yeah, that's one of the things we were talking about the other day is Facebook reminds us a lot.
That's right.
Almost every day there's a memory from a different part of the world. And part of me misses that grind of traveling as much. But I think in this season, especially with the Go Center, Running Water for Living Water, there's a lot of on-site, that just keeps us busy. It's tough to travel as much when we have our kids are where they are in life, but that's still happening. And the opportunity to lead trips is still one of the greatest blessings that I have with Global Partners. And I know more opportunities will come, and it'll evolve, it'll change, as they get older, but so many great memories of being overseas together. Yes. That's really what formed me as who I am, was learning from you and watching how you've done things. And then, we kind of created and worked together, both using our gifts to bring what God has gifted us with to the table on those trips.
And this year already, you've been to India, you've been to Uganda. I just recently got back from Jordan with a team, and those team trips are one of probably the highlights of our year of working so hard and really mobilizing while we're here, and then being able to see that come to fruition while we're overseas, and being able to spend time with our partners is probably for both of us one of our greatest joys. For sure. So you talked a little bit about just your journey, but what about your journey with having a heart for the nations, and what's kind of really been through the years, what's really drawn you to want to go and share God's love among the nations, and to mobilize people even here in the States to be ones who will obediently share the gospel here locally, but also globally as well?
Yeah, I would say over the years, the thing that has impacted me the most, I mean, it helps being a team member on a missions organization because we're surrounded by it. I get to see what life is like on the front lines, whether I'm there personally or interacting with our partners on the ground. I guess my official title would be Director of International Relationships. Basically, what we're doing overseas, I have the opportunity to just work with our partners in facilitating a lot of what they're doing. But going, without a doubt, is what impacted me the most. Mm-hmm. I mean, I mentioned the trip to India in 2005, but every trip is a different trip. It's a different experience. And then seeing what it does to the trip members, watching them be challenged and changed just in a course of a week, and not just saying bye to them when the trip is over, but seeing them 6 months later or a year later, or many of them coming back, returning, investing into the people, into the partners. That for sure has been something that has impacted me, because once you get a taste of it, it really makes you hungry for more, and can't kind of wait for the next opportunity or the next experience. And you get to see people go through this journey of like being nervous and afraid and anxiety and fear of, there's a lot of worries out there, to the jet lag, to the culture shock, to the middle of the week, they really start to embrace it. And inevitably, it's like usually by the end of the week, they're just getting comfortable.
Right.
But that's kind of the goal, is we want them to have that experience of leaving with wanting more. We always kind of keep it simple. Our goal of every trip is so that our partners on the ground are sad to see us leave. And I know that it's really hard to define, but we don't want to be a burden on them. We want to come alongside them and help them where they're at, what they're doing, like what God has called them to do. We don't want to come in there and try to reinvent something new. We don't want them to feel like they're serving us, taking care of us, like we're this team that comes in and needs all these demands. We want to be there with them, like connected, unified together, so that when we become family, like not just our team from the US, but our team on the ground, our partners on the ground, so that when we are leaving, there's this sadness that we're leaving, and not this relief, right? That we're leaving.
Sure.
We want them to want us to come back and to continue serving together and bringing teams. And so for me, that's been all a part of the journey, is witnessing that, learning what it's like for missionaries or associates on the ground, like what they need and how we can best support them.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really have appreciated about you going on trips, is how intentional you are with our partners. And then I know that's why many of the partners love it when you lead trips, because you're so intentional with them, and even in the advanced planning, and so many meetings in advance of going to the project or the place that we're going to serve, and just making sure that we're going there to meet their needs, not the needs of our team, but how we can most effectively help them. And that's been a joy to see. I've loved how, one thing that I appreciate about you is it doesn't matter if you're talking to the richest person in the world or someone who's impoverished, you can have that conversation with them. You're able to connect with them, and you make people feel comfortable when you're around them. And that's been a joy to see, and it's worked really, really well in the context and the places that we're serving.
That, yeah.
How do you feel about, some people, they think, why should we take short-term mission trips? We have so many people here in our own communities that we need to help. Is our task complete in reaching the mission that God has for us that's laid out in scriptures? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, God has called us or commanded us to go to the nations to make his name known. And so on one hand, it's a great calling. It's something that every believer should embrace, whether it's physically going or being a part of the sending, embracing that, getting the word out to the nations. And so I get a lot of questions on whether or not it's more beneficial to send money or go.
Yeah.
Some people will feel guilty, right? The amount of money that it would cost to take a short-term trip. And I usually, obviously for every person it's different, but I usually fall back on the fact that when you go, if your heart is in the right place and you really have the right attitude in going, you will experience more than probably you would have ever experienced otherwise. And it could like challenge your heart so much that you become even more invested than you would have if you had only spent that initial investment on, some project.
Right.
Inevitably, people's hearts are in a good place where they want to give. But when they go and they experience it and they taste it and they smell it and they touch it and they meet and they look into the eyes of some of these people that they will interact with, it does something. It changes them. And in a way that they would not be changed by watching a video or hearing a story. So to me, the investment is more in that side of it, which again, most people kind of struggle with that because that might feel selfish or that it's about them instead of like the purpose of going. But there's twofold where they'll get to experience that. Like that's actually part of the experience is the blessing on the ground and the encouragement to the partners and the ability to help somebody have water that doesn't have water. So that's kind of where my encouragement to someone that would maybe, why go on a trip? Why should I take a trip? And then that's more for an individual. If it was a group, whether it's a church group, a school group, or a small group. I think when you're on a short-term trip with those that are like you, maybe you know them and don't know them on the trip, you become part of a team, part of a family. That I have WhatsApp groups of trips from 2 or 3 years ago that still communicate with each other. And there's still encouragement. There's still this uplifting, mindset of chiming in every now and then to encourage each other. And you really do. You become part of a family along with the team on the ground. And that's our goal, is we want to build relationships with those who are serving on the ground so that we're connected with them. We're able to encourage them. And just so you do really become part of a family when you go on a trip.
Yeah. And I'm thinking back even about one of our trips to Haiti, and a young girl, Leanne Leary back then, Leanne Bruce now, how she went on that short-term trip. She really didn't know us or know anything about Global Partners, but how that one trip that she went on, and we ended up even saying that some of the trip was not easy for her, but it ended up changing the trajectory of her life. And look at where she's at now, and look at the impact that she's made in so many people's lives in Haiti and really around the world.
Yeah, we never really want to promote relationships on trips, especially with younger people, because we know that can be a distraction. But it is amazing. Like, now we've had the benefit of having 12 years of history, and longer for you, but for me, 12 years of trip history, and to see the fruit in the lives of so many young people that are now in their late 20s and 30s, that were teenagers when they went on these trips. And some of them are married to people they've met on trips, right, or married to, someone they met overseas. Mm-hmm. And again, those are kind of sometimes some challenging things to work through, but we see God has used them in amazing, amazing ways. And I mean, Leanne moved to Haiti and lived there for, a long time, and is still a huge advocate, an ambassador, for Amber and the Rev Home. And that's fruit from a short-term trip, from one time when I think she was 17 years old, said yes, and didn't know anybody on the team, and said yes. And 10 years later now, knowing where she's at, and still a huge part of what God's doing in Haiti.
Yeah, and she's doing an annual golf tournament, raising lots of funds for the work there among the Rev Cafe, the Rev Home. So yeah, those are, to me, that's one of the most exciting things about trips. And you kind of shared that a little earlier, but just about, you see the impact that it makes in hearts and lives of people. And in some ways, we've not completely changed the name. We still call them short-term trips, but in a lot of ways, we call them cross-cultural experiences. Just because of the fact that really we're going to give, but we get so much more out of it than what we're able to give, because really our partners are the ones that are our national workers. Global workers are the ones that are long-term. They're the ones making the greater impact. But we really hope, just in some ways, to be a boost for them and to help them in the labor that they're doing there. But also, I really see the impact is in a lot of ways greater for those who are going than what we're able to accomplish in a week period of time while we're there. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, cross-cultural experiences is trying to allow you to be immersed as much as possible in a week to 10 days into the culture. We're not just going there and building something and leaving. We want you to mingle with the people, sit at the table, right? Eat, talk, fellowship, gather, unite. Like, that's kind of the heart of the cross-cultural experience. So really experiencing what their lives are like, each and every day.
Do you remember how many, or have you kept track of how many international trips that you've been on?
No. I would say on average, probably 3 to 4 a year.
So you're probably up more than 40, I would imagine.
Probably somewhere in that neighborhood. But
do you have one trip that I know usually it's like the last trip you went on is your favorite trip that you went on? So you just got back from Uganda.
Yeah, that's the most effective answer. They're all, again, like, if I start to think back on individuals, that's what usually makes the trip, is the memories that you have with a specific person on the trip. And these Uganda trips the last couple of years have been very special. But I mean, same with Guatemala and India and Haiti and Jordan, all the trips that God has given me the opportunities to be on. But there is something special about Uganda. And we just got back not too long ago. And the relationships that I've been able to build there, I've only been there 3 times now, and the connections with our partners in the Garden Missions and their team. I'm just really thankful for that. And the team that we had just fit perfectly for what we needed to accomplish. And so, usually the answer is the last trip, And I'm sure if you ask me again in August, I'll say Guatemala,
Right.
But yeah, they're all special to me.
No, I think most countries you go to, they're much more than we are here in the U.S., very relational. And so I think that's partly where you're able to shine with your giftings and relationships. And even before you even went to Uganda the first time, I knew before you even went, like, this is a place that Matt's going to love, just because of just the joy and the excitement that people have there, the dancing and the singing. Like, you fit right in with all of that.
Yeah, but and for sure. But I remember going to India, like my first couple trips. And if you've been on a trip to India, you know our partner, and like he's a great guy and love serving with him. But when Tony like entered the picture and became part of the trip, all of a sudden, like anybody that's hung out with Tony and serves together with Tony and Heather, they're captivating.
Yeah.
He's fascinating. He's a fun person, but a passionate. And I remember thinking like, whoa, these India trips are never going to be the same because of what Tony adds to the experience.
Right.
And so like having a team like that on the ground when these partners that you're able to serve with, and it's the same in Uganda with Daniel and Misty, and it's the same in Guatemala with Charlotte and Pedro. And it's like, you just love being with them.
Right.
And I'm sure you could say the same thing about Jordan and other parts of the
Slovakia.
Yeah. You just love being with the team.
Right.
And you love introducing other people to them and allowing like what they've done to me and how they've impacted me to now impact other people. So I kind of feel like I'm just like a connector, like a bridge to connect like cool people with cool people that have a passion to serve the Lord and to do it in amazing ways, overseas. And so
kind of goes along with the way you explain global partners to people. A lot of times you say we're a bridge, and that's exactly what you just explained there, that you're a bridge for people to connect.
Yeah, because we love the people that God has allowed us to partner with. We've spent a lot of time investing into them, building relationships with them. And so, we love connecting other people to them.
Yeah.
Really, that's a simple way of thinking.
I had a guy this week actually send me an email that went on a trip 3 years ago, and he loved his time with Tony and Heather. And he always is like, how can I help them? How can we serve them? How can we be a part of their lives? And that for both of us, that brings us a lot of joy.
Oh man. Yeah.
In doing that.
Yep.
I want to kind of set this up, and maybe in a way I'm going to give you the answer to the question I want you to answer. But wanted to ask you like a story of an international, of someone while we were overseas that that their life was impacted, or maybe simply just a story that impacted you in working with internationals. And maybe you have a couple stories, but I'd love for you to share the story of the time that we were in India and really what helped set the trajectory for our water wells, and the time that we were way back up in that Koya village. We were on a boat actually to get to that place, and I'll never forget that we were there sharing the good news. And then that gentleman that came up afterwards, would you elaborate maybe a little bit on that story and how it impacted us?
Without a doubt, when somebody asks, this was probably 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And still to this day is probably the most impactful moment for me on a trip, because it changed, like you said, it changed the trajectory of our mindset. So we're in this village and Jonathan and I are there. There's probably other members of our team. And mostly when we would go to India, we would preach. That's the main mission. And, our partners constantly giving us opportunities to speak in villages, speak in churches, speak. You could speak 3, 4, 5 times a day, if not more sometimes. Sure. We would always say, we'll sleep on the plane, right? We're not sleeping here.
That was our motto for many years while we were more younger.
Yeah. But we go to this village, and Jonathan, I think you spoke. We both might have spoke, and we got done. Man, we were patting each other on the back. Man, that was great, man. You did great, man. Yeah, Spirit was really moving. And all of a sudden, this guy, he starts chirping I wouldn't say he was angry, but he was certainly agitated.
Yeah, it's causing some commotion. For
Causing,
sure.
yeah, a little bit of a distraction.
Yeah.
And our partner's trying to like, keep him calm. But we can't understand a word he's saying. And finally we were like, hey, what's happening? Just tell us.
What does he want?
We're good. Like we don't, it's okay, whatever he's saying. And essentially from what we were told is that he was saying, what you guys said was great. Like, we appreciate that you came here and shared this message, but what we really need is water. And that kind of stopped us in our tracks. He's right. Who are we? We don't know their situation. We don't know what they face every day. We come in here for an hour and we speak these words that, of course, they're powerful, but we're going to leave. We're going to get back on this boat. We're going to travel down the river. We're going to go to the next village and do it again. And what they really needed was water. Yeah. They were suffering, like their bodies were suffering. And so we began to think and talk and ask questions. What does that look like? Like, here, we took a boat to get down there. Right. Is it even possible?
To get a drill there, yes.
And we were told, yeah, it can happen. And so we went back, and I don't remember if we raised money, if we had money, but we ended up installing a well in that village and knowing that these people were now not only impacted by the words that we spoke, but the pastor, our partner, who was going to be able to go in there, was going to now be able to impact them with water. And when we saw what that did, it really changed the way we approached, especially there in India, but now in Uganda and even in Guatemala. So water is huge. And water is a way of building relationships with the people to meet their physical needs, to kind of do what Jesus was doing, right? Meet their physical needs. So it opens the door to meet their spiritual needs. And so we view these wells now as a tool, essentially a gift to the church or the evangelist or the pastor. It's almost a gift to them to then take that and use it to reach their community and to... here's another bridge that we've now given them, and they're able to use this bridge of water to bring people into the word, into the church and into the body. And I mean, we hear testimonies all the time. We get pictures all the time of new believers, baptisms. And we know a lot of it is because we're able to meet them where they're physically needing it the most.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that story and remember it like it was yesterday in a lot of ways. And just the beauty of that place and just seeing the impact that one day had really in setting the trajectory for global partners in the days ahead. And reminds me a lot of James chapter 2 and wanting really us having a passion to put our faith into action and loving in both word and also in deed. Yeah. And it's easy just to go into just maybe to share in word. And that's what we were doing a lot of, which is great. Yeah. Because that's how people come to know who God is through his word and through that. But we wanted to show them who Jesus is through the actions and putting our faith into action. And now that was 11 years ago or so. There was a few water wells that I think had been done before then. But now we have funding we're up to almost 700 wells. Yeah. Have been.
Yeah. It's amazing what God has done through the efforts of really like we said about being intentional. We really got intentional about water. And I mean, John, we take it for granted. Right. We don't think about it. I don't know if you know this, but the average American family uses about 300 gallons of water per day. Ooh. That's an average family of 4. And so families like ours,
double,
probably, but you think about it for washing dishes, for washing clothes, for taking showers and baths, for just drinking, for whatever. Water is something you don't think about. When you want water, you'll go to your tap or you'll go to the refrigerator and you push a button and water comes out. You don't worry about it. Where most of the world, many places around the world, it's part of their daily activity is where am I going to get water? I got to go to the same place again to get water. And then when I get it, I'm probably only getting 3 to 5 gallons. Now I got to rationalize that and keep it and save it and use it for...
Not always from a clean source.
Not always from a clean source. I got to figure out, am I filtering it out of this container? Am I boiling it? Yeah, it's a challenge for mothers and children, especially for them to get water. And so I've been to hundreds and hundreds of water well dedications, and to be able to see the impact of what they do in these villages, it never gets old, and they always seem to be a little bit different. And I remember just being in Uganda this past time, we walked down to an old water source, and here there were people collecting water, and we started telling them, hey, there's a water source. There's a new well, like right up the street. It's at a church, and y'all are welcome to be there. And there was a young boy named Derek, and there was a woman named Taranzi, and they both, we actually asked them, could we carry your jugs? Like some of our team members wanted to experience what it would be like to carry a jug of water.
A lot more difficult than what they think.
In the hot, this was around lunchtime, so it's hot. So we're carrying the water for them and bringing it. We took them up to the church, and then, basically dumped it out and told them, like, fill up. You're welcome to drink from here. It was really special because this woman ended up sticking around. She stayed for the whole dedication ceremony. We ended up doing a Bible distribution there. We wanted her to have a Bible. So she felt that love in that moment, not just from the water, but also the love that we were showing her from the church. And the boy left. He was on a bike. This is how he was transporting the water jugs. He left, and a little while later we came back out. We went inside the church, and we came back out, and he was back filling up his jugs again.
Oh, sweet.
And so I remember being in India one time, and Jason Desai was speaking at a well dedication, and all of a sudden hundreds and hundreds of black crows started swirling around us. And we knew that there was spiritual oppression in this village. And here we're dedicating a well, and he's speaking, sharing the gospel. And it was evident that there was tension in this moment. And so the wells are more than just water. It's opportunities for people to experience the living water, the relationship with Jesus where they will never have to thirst again, where they're searching for things. And we know in parts of the world like India, where there is an evidence of spiritual, most people are aware of a spiritual world. They're just not aware of the one true God, and a God that loves them, and a God that wants to have a relationship with them. And so for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of villages have heard the good news, mainly because here, come and drink.
Yeah.
And so that's why I become passionate about, water and being able to provide water, because I know what it does and the doors that it opens in people's lives.
Yeah, and through that passion, Running Water for the Living Water was started. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how the impact that that's made around the world?
Yeah, Running Water for Living Water is really a movement that started just kind of, and it's grown organically. It's nothing that there was this mass marketing campaign or anything that we put a lot of time and energy into promoting it. I think it's everything that we've been talking about. People understand the need for water, and it's an opportunity for someone in mostly Pennsylvania, which is where the event is, to run in a race and raise money for wells. And the cool part about it is they can do it in teams of 4. And that, again, to be a part of a team, when you feel connected to something, is motivating and encouraging. And I mean, this will be our 11th year this year. We've raised over $800,000 total. I mean, over 250 wells and water projects. We've helped to fund projects. We've helped to fund purchasing equipment. We've helped to fund engineering related work, all because of people raising money and working together for a common goal. And I'm amazed at the people that want to be involved in it already. The race is we're 6 months away from the race, and have already, the momentum is building.
Awesome.
People wanting to be involved, new people wanting to join the team. And so I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the original 15, the first year, 15 runners. They had a heart. They created the name. I wasn't even a part of it.
Yeah, we were in India together, I think, when that happened.
We were in India when kind of the brainstorming of it happened, but I knew we were going to Haiti. My family and I were we were going to be in Haiti for the entire month of November. And I remember thinking like, I'm glad I'm going to Haiti. I don't have to run. And, but in the middle of October, I could sense that I was going to be missing out on something. And that first year, that team, they did something. They changed. It was their enthusiasm and their excitement that changed my mind, especially on what this can look like. In the second year, we were like, we're all in. In the second year, we had over 100 runners. And then from there, it's just grown every year.
Wasn't your mom, was she a part of that original group?
Yep. My mom, Dana Cox, Kim Sanger, Betsy Miller, like so many people that were, big parts of this team going back to the very, very beginning. Tyler Rhodes he's been a part of it. All these, most of them have been a part, for a number of years. And very, very honored and thankful for them for laying the foundation of what then God's allowed us to do. It's not me. It's a surrounding. We're surrounded by so many amazing people, and I could name probably 25 other names of people that have just been super impactful. Most of them going out and sharing, being advocates and recruiting and cheerleaders, giving, going, just making it what it is today. And we're just honored to be a part of an amazing group of people.
Yeah, one of the most exciting things is I've been up there for a number of them is being up there on the Sunday morning before the race. We gather together like at 6:00 over there on the city island and just have a time of worship, time of prayer. But just even seeing that group come together, we all have pretty much the same color shirts on, and to see how that's grown through the years and just the encouragement and the excitement. Most of the time I'm not running, so I'm on the sideline just cheering everybody on, and just to see people running by through there, whether they're doing the relay part or the half marathon. And some of them, like you, a couple years ago, did the full marathon, and just seeing those Running Water for Living Water shirts. And you've built a great relationship with the YMCA up there with the race. And so it's been amazing to see what God's done over these last
we have
years.
so many great friends connected to the Y. And the one guy this past year, he came over to me and he was like, man, he's like, just hearing you guys worship together this morning, singing, whatever you were doing. He was like, that was so cool. And we were, just a few feet from the start finish line where they give us space to do that. And we're super thankful for that. And at this point, there's no end in sight. I'm like, as long as the Lord keeps blessing it, I'm going to keep pouring into it. And it's one of the things that really does keep us planted in Pennsylvania is the relationships that we've built through that event.
Sure.
Actually, most years we'll be represented by more than 25 churches, which is, to me, that's probably the coolest part about it, is different churches with different denominations all coming together for the same purpose on a Sunday in Harrisburg, running for a purpose, being a light in the community. And people recognize it now. They see the shirts. Yeah. They know a little bit about who we are. It's opportunities to share about the overall mission, about what we're doing.
Yeah, and one of the neat things is the night before you have that rally and everybody gathered together and you're able to share the amount of money that's been raised. And of course, some money trickles in after that. But you've had some really exciting things happen that night where God's provided supernaturally to help us reach some specific goals that we've had.
Yeah, we always, again, it's hard to know what to set a goal as. It's not just a calculation. So we kind of got bold and set a goal at $100,000. And I remember the first year, people were kind of scoffing at that. Not scoffing, but questioning,
Sure.
And the first time we ever hit $100,000, it was amazing. And I just remember being overwhelmed. But this past year, I thought, man, like I felt like momentum was kind of dwindling. I get it. After a while, people, they have a hard time doing it year after year. But I thought realistically we would reach 80 to 90 this year. It could feel that way a little bit. And I was really happy with that.
Sure.
And the night of the rally, I thought we were going to be right around 93. Like that's what I was prepared to announce. And Jonathan, actually, you're the one that usually announces the total, and I don't even know it until you announce it. But this year, you were facilitating a wedding the day. And so I was able to do this, and I had this number written down on a card. And as soon as the rally had already started and I was about to walk in the door to just go be a part of the rally. And the announcement would happen later in the kind of the service. But a young girl walks up to me that I say young, she's probably in her 30s. And I'd never met her before. And she says, is there still time to make a donation? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I'm, like you just think in your brain, maybe 50, $100,
Right.
like whatever, I'm going to be thankful for it. And she hands me a check and I look at it and it was over $7,000. I immediately, like I'm almost tearing up thinking about it. Like I immediately broke down because I knew that would put us over 100,000, which again, like you just think, is this goal like realistic?
Right.
And again, I had never met her. I was like, she sees the tears in my eyes and I said, can I hug you? Because like, that's the only thing I knew what to do in the moment.
Yeah.
And she expressed that her and her husband just feel honored to do this. And it was an amazing honor. And again, I think we ultimately ended up with, I think it was like 113,000 this past year, which was our biggest year yet. So I'm very, very thankful for how God continues to bless it. And all that money converts into wells and well projects. And even now we're seeing like the dedications that we get sent and that we're able to be a part of, and we see the impact of these wells, and then we get to send them back to the runners and the donors. And it's just this cycle of giving, going, dedicating, receiving that joy, and them receiving the wells.
And over the last couple of years, you've had some of the runners actually go and dedicate the wells that they raise money for.
Yeah, and in Uganda this past year, 2 runners went, and actually that was at the well where I was talking about with Derek and Terence. Was one of our runners got to experience that. That's and cool. Got to be there to witness those interactions, and he saw his well like impacting this community. It was super cool.
Now, all these stories that you're sharing, I think that's a lot of what ignites our fire, kind of puts a little fuel to our fire as we hear these stories. Really, every week, almost daily, we're hearing stories. I mean, just even recently, we heard the story of how we gave some Bibles to some Romanis in Slovakia, and the impact that it's making in that community now. And so we rejoice at all those things that are happening around the world. But what are some weekly or some daily habits that you have in your life? I mean, these stories are great. We love hearing them, but what continues to fuel your passion for missions? What are some things that you've done in your own life to help allow that to continue to happen?
Yeah, and again, living in central Pennsylvania, you don't always feel missional. I have a unique opportunity to witness kind of firsthand what God's doing, like you just mentioned, the Bibles in Slovakia, or baptisms in India, updates on wells, and Amber's situation in Haiti. Like we get these fed to us. But meeting with people and surrounding myself with people that have a heart, whether to serve locally, because we view serving locally in central Pennsylvania almost the same as serving globally. So surrounding myself with people that are passionate. I mean, I love serving in the youth ministry. Like I love serving teenagers and helping them to see themselves the way God sees them, and talking with them about real life stuff. I love coaching youth and working through the challenges that sports bring to young people. And so I love those daily interactions of just being around people that are passionate about whether it's just life in general or being a part of what we're doing. So daily habits are for sure like being connected as much as possible to like-minded people. Obviously staying in the Word, staying focused on who God is, on who I am, who my identity is in Christ. Being a part of a family that loves the Lord. My wife, I mean, she's the rock. I love her, and I'm just thankful for like what she has done to help me, and all the support that she is, and being a part of this team. And so I know like those are unique things, maybe somewhat to me.
Sure.
But those are some of the daily habits that I try to do is as much as possible be connected with people who want to be a part of this.
Yeah. I was thinking about a conversation I had over in Jordan a few weeks ago when someone was asking me about the Great Commission passage. And it says, all authority has been given to me in heaven and earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And the person asked me, what does that mean? And ultimately, and I answered the best I knew how. And he kind of came back with, for him, what is the commandments? And the greatest commandment is to love God. And the second greatest commandment is to love others.
Yep.
And really, you answered that in that question. And as we're discipling, as we are making disciples here locally and globally, that's what we're pointing people to do is to love God. And I was just sharing even a few minutes ago with someone, just the fact that a lot of times we can get so focused on the needs. And in some ways, you can give an emotional appeal to people to be involved in mission because of the needs. Because people are drawn, like you talked about the running water for living water, people lacking clean water. But if we really want to sustain that missional heart, what I'm coming to find out is we really need to point people to God. Because if you are serving the God of the mission, if you are loving him with all of your heart and you're wanting to love the same things that God loves and has a heartbeat for the nation. And so as we point people to God and have a heart for him, have a passion for seeking after him, seek first his kingdom, and all these things will be added unto him. I'm really saying that that's part of, even as global partners, is us really, our goal is to point people to him. And as we point people to him, the outflow of that will be the mission. And then you don't run dry just looking at the mission. You are pointing your heart towards him. And I think that's been really, really helpful in my life, and even what you were explaining.
It becomes contagious too,
Exactly.
and you start to feel like I don't want to miss out on that.
Exactly, because you're connected to the source. And you're connected to the source. Then you're not losing that passion for the things that he's passionate about.
I remember having a mindset when I was younger of like, I'm afraid of committing like full time, like this whole thing of being all in with God, because when you're a kid, you hear these stories of like
troubles,
the jungles of Africa or whatever. And it's like, I'm afraid of fully committing to God because I'm afraid of what I'm going to miss out on. Like, I feel like at my own self, I can develop something. Whereas, once you get a taste of it, it's like, I'm afraid of not being in with what God's doing because of what I'm going to miss out on and what it's going to do, not only for my life, but the impact of others. And so, this idea of it just being contagious and being connected.
It's FOMO for God's purposes. Fear of missing out on what God's doing and how he invites us to be a part of this big story.
What an invitation.
Yeah. Very cool. What are some of the distractions that you see maybe here within America, within the church, within believers? I think of that verse in Mark where it's talking about the soils, and it says that the word of God is choked out. And then one of the things it says in that verse is because of the distractions that we face, and maybe even some of the distractions you face in your own life or distractions that you see within the church that is keeping us really from fulfilling the Great Commission. And we think about the fact that there's 3.4 billion people. I mean, Christ came 2,000 years ago. He gave us the Great Commission, and yet 2,000 years later, we have 3.4 billion people who have never one time heard the gospel. And I think a big part of that is we're distracted, especially here in the States. What are some thoughts you have on that?
Yeah, so I can speak as far as distractions. I think of my life and those that I'm connected to, especially this season of life with kids that are involved in whether it's school activities or sports. I think what I see the most of, and probably what I struggle with the most of as well, is the distraction of my kids wanting to be involved in things and me wanting them to be involved in things. I think overall, the distractions that we face as a society, as a culture, is somewhat surrounded by money, the desire for success. So our jobs and our lives become so busy. I see this in the church, especially, is the church is constantly competing with culture, right? For the time of the believers. What can we get? How much access do we have to their time? Whether it's serving in a ministry at church, or going on a trip, or just being all in, whatever that looks like. And so these distractions of whether it's sports or work or even our own phones,
right?
And a lot of this I'm fully guilty of. And so that's where we go back to the daily habits of what are we surrounding ourselves with? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? And what are we investing our time? Because our time is the most valuable thing that we have. And if you want to invest it into your kids and life and your job, I get it. Like those are worthy investments, but what are the outcomes, the goals of those investments? Like if our investment in our kids is just to succeed in a sport,
Right.
then I think that's where we're a little bit misguided. And again, some people can get really sucked into that because going back to what we were just talking about, you don't want to miss out. And you feel like if you take a break or if you back away, all of a sudden you're missing out on an opportunity. And so that's something that especially believers have to break themselves free from.
Yeah.
They have to break themselves free of the fear of missing out of what the world has to offer and recognize that, you know what God has to offer is so much more and so much better. And yes, there will be challenges and there will be sacrifices that I'm going to have to make. And my kids might not understand right now. I might not understand right now. People that have put their trust in me or that I've put my trust in them might not understand. I might have to hurt some feelings.
Sure.
My feelings might be hurt. All of that is in play. But I think that we have to break ourselves free from the fear of missing out of what the world has to offer.
That's good. That's real good. I was just thinking through how there are so many distractions that we have here in the U.S. And even when we go overseas and we spend that week, that we're away from all of this and we see, man, this is what really matters. And we all of a sudden, the sporting event or the game that we were concerned about doesn't seem quite as high on the priority list because we're with people that are desperate for water, desperate for food, desperate for the gospel. And it changes our mindset with some of those things.
Except when you're up at 3 a.m. watching your kid on a screen like this play basketball.
That's right. That's right.
Because you don't want to miss out, right?
Right.
It's like, man, I want to support. And, so yeah, it's this, you're trying to balance that all out. But I think when you are experiencing that and you do taste it, you realize that it's like, man, this is so much more valuable.
Right.
And there's so much worth in me investing my time into what God is doing,
right?
Making His name known.
Yeah, one of the things that I've appreciated about you is how even through sports, how you've been able to make connections, gospel connections through your kids' sports and the community in which you've built relationships and friendships with, and being a light in that community. And I think
we have a great community, and I'm thankful for it. And there's a lot of believers in our circle there, and I'm great for those relationships. Our kids don't always get it right now, but we do. We attempt as best as we can to be missional, whether it's in a quote unquote secular setting or on a mission trip.
So if you could say anything to every believer in the world, what would you say? What would be important for every believer in the world to know?
This is impossible, but if I could say anything to if I could say anything to every believer in the world, and understanding that God has given me, like you, opportunities to see different cultures and the way that different believers are faced to live and the challenges that they face. So for me, my thought goes to the believers that are suffering, that are being persecuted. And I think I've never lived in their shoes, so it's hard to relate. John, I remember both of us heard a guy say one time that it'd be hard to trust a pastor that's never been in prison.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact context of what he said, but basically when you have gone that far, when your faith has taken you and you've sustained it and withstood the challenge of literally being thrown in jail for your belief, then now you can be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, now the words that are coming out of your mouth have real meaning.
Right.
So I don't feel qualified
to
answer the question of encouraging the believers around the world, because many of them face that.
Sure.
This fear, if you will, of life. Like they have given sometimes, their life. So the best I can do is remind them of like just God's word and to stand firm and to stay strong and to know that it will be worth it and that their prize is Jesus.
Yeah.
Their reward is in heaven, and their race is meaningful, whatever that looks like and wherever they are. The believers that we've seen that have prayed for years for water, that I'm like, you prayed for years for this well.
Yeah, some more than 10 years, I know.
And I'm like, it humbles me so much that I don't feel like I'm qualified at all to like speak into them. Like we always say when we're speaking, like we should be the ones sitting and they should be the ones speaking to us, because I feel like they have more wisdom than we'll ever have, more experience with really. The only thing I have is God, so that's the only thing that He's who gives me my hope. And so I think it would just be like, stay the course, despite the challenge, despite the struggle and the suffering. And I can only say that because I've heard widows say that to me. I've heard pastors that have been beaten say that to me. And so I can just say that I know that it's worth it, because you've seen the hope in their eyes that they have in Christ. He's the one that gives them all the strength that they need.
Yeah. I'll never forget, soon after we read that book and shared with each other about, we can really trust you now that you've been in prison. One of our associates actually was thrown into prison, and he was on a plane ride back to the U.S. He had landed, and he was in New York heading back down to Virginia. And I was overseas at the time, I think in India, and maybe we were even together. And I remember getting on the phone with him, and I said his name. I said, we can finally trust you now.
Yeah. Well, and he like took that as an honor.
Yeah, for sure.
To be in prison and was sharing the gospel.
Yeah, that's right.
In prison. Like he had the image of Paul and Silas, singing and just worshiping the Lord.
Yeah, and I'll never forget, because even the people that were in prison with him were also being deported out of the country. So actually, when he shared the gospel with them, that message was going to be going to many countries around the world. Yeah, and so it was a beautiful story. Yeah. This last week, you've been here at the Go Center, and of course, you've traveled down here a few times. As you've walked around the Go Center, seen the different displays, what maybe is one of the displays that you've enjoyed seeing the most, or you think is most impactful?
Yeah, this place is fascinating. The Go Center is a fascinating place, and there's so much to see and experience. Honestly, I haven't really been able to fully experience the whole thing. Walking through it and reading and touching and seeing. There's over 60 touch points, I believe, as far as exhibits, but by far, without a doubt, the most impactful thing that I've seen here at the Go Center is the two boxes that were built, and I even took a picture of them because I'm just like, I think people have to see them. But one of them, and I just found out actually this morning that this is like 1,500 pounds of sand. So each what do you call it?
Grain of sand.
Each grain of sand represents an unreached person in the world. So 3.4 billion people are considered unreached, which, by the way, means that they have no access to the gospel. This is almost half of the world's population. No access to the gospel. 1,500 pounds worth of sand. So this is probably a 5.5, 6 foot tall box just filled with sand. And then right next to this is a box that is the same height, the same width, the same dimensions, but only has a half a teaspoon of sand. What is it? 13,000. 13,000. So these grains of sand represent the number of workers that are currently serving in these areas
where the unreached live.
So you got 13,000 workers trying to reach 3.4 billion people. And you can see the differences, whereas in the half a teaspoon of sand is just kind of scattered on the bottom.
Yeah, it doesn't cover the bottom of the box.
So that visual is powerful. And it shows, that the work is plentiful and the laborers are few. And there's a need for workers to go into these areas and to reach the unreached, the 1040 window and other parts of the world. So hopefully the Go Center it exists to ignite a passion in people's hearts. And as they walk through we've talked a lot about trips. Not everybody can experience a trip.
Mm-hmm.
I often compare it to, the Compassions and the World Visions of the world. They do these trailers where you can go and walk through a trailer and you can experience what life looks like in a slum or for a child growing up in another part of the world. And this is very similar. It's an experience that you walk through and you feel what it feels like. You literally feel like you're there in most of these rooms and exhibits. To walk out of here challenged and maybe changed, where it changes the way that you think about the rest of the world, but it also gives you hope that God's on the move, and He actually is inviting us and you to be a part of what He's doing.
Right.
And so, the whole thing is really fascinating, and you guys have done an amazing job just laying it out and bringing it to life. But that exhibit for sure just is one of those that makes you go, wow.
Yeah, Heidi actually was walking through the hallway where that display is the other day, and there was a big grown man, I think he was a former Marine, standing there looking at that display with tears coming down his eyes.
Yeah.
So Heidi started talking with him, and in that conversation, his words were, "We have to do something about this."
Wow.
So it changed his perspective, and that's really one of the things I think we want to happen here. One of the first words we use about what our mission is here is to bring awareness, and for him that display helped bring an awareness of the needs and really the lack of workers to go and to share the gospel with so many people who are without him. The one of the themes that we're using now is this theme of I am surrendered. And when you hear that I am surrendered, what does that mean to you?
So to say I am surrendered means, and I struggle with this because am I fully surrendered?
Mm-hmm.
In my heart and in my head, I am surrendered, but does my life reflect that? And do I truly reflect what it means to be all in? I struggle. I have challenges. I have distractions. There's areas of my life that, are weak. But why would I want to be surrendered? Because I've seen and I've tasted and I've heard, I've witnessed what God is doing. And I know that there is work to be done. I know that there is opportunities for us to be on mission for Christ. And I know that there are people hungry and thirsty for life, not just physical life, but for spiritual life. There is a hunger for hope. And through our lives, through anybody's life that is surrendered and is willing to give, to go, to be a part of the mission, God invites us to be a part of what He's doing. And that's one of the greatest callings, that is the greatest calling that any person could have, is to be a part of what God is doing to change lives around the world. And so I am surrendered. I'm surrendered to the call to go and to be who God has called me to be and to live in a way that would bring glory to His name.
Amen. Well, I think that's our prayer for ourselves, individuals, for each person listening to this podcast, that we would truly live surrendered lives to Him, and that we could all say, I am surrendered. And I think of that song that we sing a lot, I surrender all. And I remember growing up hearing that in the churches, and the pastor say, don't sing it unless you really mean it. And I'm thinking, maybe nowadays I think about people that we've traveled and have served with overseas. You've talked about people who've been persecuted, people that have lost their lives, people that daily face these struggles that we can't even imagine. And then when we think about that, we think, am I truly surrendered? Is God all that we really want and all that we really desire? And I think through the years we've learned a lot in that, but we have a long ways to go. And it's just, to me, it's a constant daily, it's a surrender moment by moment that we have to do. And
And by the way, you just totally revealed your age by admitting that you grew up singing this I surrender all. I don't remember the last time, but you're right. This was like an 80s and 90s,
right.
like final song of the service.
That's right.
Everybody's going to stand. If you want to come forward, come forward. The younger viewers, you'll have to YouTube that one and look it up.
Yeah, there's YouTube songs of I Surrender All for sure. It's in a hymn book. Find it in the hymn book
the old
if you can
hymns.
find a hymn book.
Yeah.
So I think with now you explaining my age, I think we better close out this time of Global Talk. But Matt, thanks a lot for sharing your life with us today. And I've learned a lot by listening to you, and I hope our viewers listeners have learned a lot as well. And thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for being obedient to the call. For Vicky, for the kids, really, it's a joy. It's an honor. It's been one of my greatest honors these last 12 years is serving alongside of you. There's hardly a day that goes by that we don't communicate with each other. And to be able to do this and to do it with family, people that you love, I'm so thankful for you.
Yeah.
So,
Amen. Thank you to you. You've helped to guide us and steer this ship, and I'm honored to be a part of a great team.
yeah. And we invite all of you to be a part of this team and to be a part of God's mission to the nations. And so God bless you, and thank you for taking time today to listen to Global Talk.